without further ado, I'd like to bring up our Zoho CEO, Mr. Sridhar Vembu.
Thanks, Mason. Actually, I bought a pair of shoes for this event. Not these ones. It was $15 Walmart ones. Yesterday, I used them. Some people commented, some of our employees, I should say, commented that, you should be wearing better shoes. So I just commandeered a pair of shoes from one of them. So for this event. So I'm sure Mason would get that comment in about the shoes. I knew that. Thanks for coming, ladies and gentlemen. This is it's a dream for us. It's more than double from last year. And our base, our business, everything is growing at an extremely rapid clip. In fact, it's hard to keep up. And I sometimes feel whether my own talents to manage all this is enough. But we have really fantastic people here in our company. It's Raju and his team who will put together this event. I just show up, truly I just show up. And I get to make this keynote. So first I'm going to talk about some trends in this business and particularly how we use our own software. Because there is something interesting about this. That's what I'm building the narrative on. There are a lot of lessons here on how we are using Zoho ourselves and what benefit we get from it. First, some raw facts. We are about 1,600 people. In the last year alone, maybe we have added about 250 or so in that, 300. It's 3 business units. Actually, Zoho is not our biggest business unit yet. It's becoming so, but it's not yet. And even though Zoho is by far the largest R&D investment we are making, there's 5 offices around the world and 3 different continents. And we're still private. And we are going to stay private. We get to stay true to our spirit, true to our vision that way. So we are going to stay private. I think that's one of the things we made a decision a while ago. And that way we get to do more of what we like and less of what we don't like, Wall Street and all of that. So let me just give you a snapshot of how our own internal IT looks like, our developers, our people inside. We run a whole gamut of them now. Recently, in the last 2 years, we have switched out most of our Windows machines in favor of OS X. And of course, Windows is still there. Linux, a lot of our hardcore techies use Linux, iOS, Android. Every single person in the company actually gets an iDevice. That's part of our package when we hire. And then a lot of our people also like to use Android. So that's the landscape today. And our data center itself runs entirely on Linux. So there's a few thousand servers there, all running a custom flavor of Linux. And of course, you, the customers, we see every imaginable description there, everything. And that's, of course, sometimes a challenge because we would like you to be on the latest browsers, if possible, latest OS. Not always possible, right? But that's the challenge for us. And so now let's ask the question, what does Zoho Corp run on? It runs on actually, it runs on Zoho Mail, Calendar. Then you have the docs and projects for our collaboration. This presentation itself is coming from our docs live right now. And our sales and marketing, of course, runs on CRM and campaigns. And our support runs on our support and our recently launched live desk, live chat product. And we get already few hundred chat requests a day through that in our support reps. Now our HR runs on, our recruitment is all Zoho Recruit, and then our internal people management is all through Zoho People, all our leave tracking and all of this policies and all of the good stuff. Our finance runs on, our invoicing, of course, is done through Zoho Invoice, and Zoho Books, we keep track of our finances. And of course, everyone in the company also runs various Zoho creator apps, over 100 of them. All kinds of small apps, little groups, or people use it very contextually. Book a cab, that's an app. So, and all of that. And then reports. Almost every single week, I get a dashboard of our metrics, and that's all from Zoho reports, from revenues to traffic to all of that is tracked through our Zoho reports. So you can say Zoho Corp runs on all of these, but it's not really true. Of course, Windows gets a very special affection from us. We are really glad, really, really happy not to be running that anymore. So you have to say Zoho Corp actually runs on Zoho. I think that's a more accurate statement because we are running all of them, but none of them is as important to us as Zoho, really. And that's something actually that it's a company with 1,600 people across 5 different locations today. 10 years ago, there's no way to run a company like this, the way we are running it. Something big has changed. In fact, it's interesting because this company kind of grew up with the product. It wasn't, if I go back 7 years ago, what were we doing before Zoho Mail? We were actually running mail servers. We had clients, all of that stuff. We had Microsoft Office and Open Office. Some people preferred Open Office. We had all of that. And then we had, patched together various things at that time. But then over time, without consciously intending to, actually that's what I must say, because a lot of this came into being, the product strategy didn't come into being just because we want to use something. It came into being because we saw an opportunity. And then as the product evolved, then the strategy came with it. And now we wake up and see that something big has changed. We are seeing that, we are running this sized company. We're a good medium-sized company now, and we are running it almost entirely on Zoho. This is actually broader than just our company. There's something going on, and what is really going on is you had Windows as the dominant platform in the enterprise, absolutely dominant. And it's going down from your 97% of PCs. I think Apple bottomed out at maybe 2%, 2.5%, was maybe approximately 10 years ago. Now, under 50% of your computing devices are running Windows. I think just about last year that 50% threshold was crossed, and it's going down, 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 down. There's no stopping this decline now. This has some really interesting implication because the Microsoft playbook, this was the Gates playbook, I should say, was establish Windows. Fairly or unfairly, it doesn't matter, establish it somehow, and then leverage it across all of the applications. Then, of course, profit. And that's a lot of profit there, right? This was their classic playbook, and they played it really, really well. Well, here's what is happening. I don't think that Windows domination or any client domination is ever coming back. Because what we are seeing today is, of course, you have the Windows, OS X, Android, iOS, Windows Phone, Chrome OS, Kindle OS, BlackBerry OS. BlackBerry Z10 is really good, and it's selling like hotcakes now. And more coming. Samsung is threatening to do their own OS again. So this client fragmentation is accelerating, if anything. In fact, Android itself, there's not one Android. There's like, 2 or 3 flavors, the Kindle, and then you have Chrome OS. Google itself has Chrome OS. And I actually authored this presentation, believe it or not, on my $200 Chrome OS Acer because I'm cheap and I break stuff, so I keep going through them. $200 is affordable price for it. So. But it works just fine. I'm presenting on a MacBook here, but it was actually authored on a Chrome OS on Zoho Show. So this is what it's looking like now. All these guys going on the battering ram through the gates of Microsoft, as they call it. Right? Or maybe I should have just said Microsoft of Gates. Right? That's really what is going on right now as we speak. And this trend is further and further gaining momentum. It's unstoppable. They are not able to do anything about it. Windows Phone, they thought they would regain their dominance. Maybe they'll get 5%. I'll give them 5%. But I don't see them ever getting into 95% again. So this is a complete negation of their playbook. That playbook is now torn up. They have to come up with a new playbook. So far, they really haven't shown how they're going to play in this world where maybe their OS leading platforms will have 20% share, 30% share. They haven't shown how they're going to play that. But, and this is the danger for them, all of the rest of their suite, the Office, Exchange, SharePoint, SQL Server, all of them is actually depending on that Windows franchise. Every single one of them, right? And that's their, today, that's their position in the enterprise. From mid-size to large, even to the small, this is where they stand. And as I like to say, as the client fragments further and further, the cloud rises because we still need some kind of a unifying point. In fact, the client fragmentation by itself drives cloud adoption more and more. That's what we are seeing. And that unifying point is still needed. There's a point at which, because we may have 5 devices, each of us, but we still need our data in one place. We need some kind of a unifying point. And that cloud is the unifying point for all business data available across all your devices. And you saw, the Zoholics app that we are doing on the iOS and Android. This was done within a few weeks, 3 weeks. By the way, all of that is backed with Zoho Creator. The data for the agenda, the speaker list changes. As the agenda changes, the app does not change. The data is coming from Zoho Creator, populated in that app. And we put that together in 2 or 3 weeks, quick. So this is going to create new platforms in the cloud as we speak, and really big platforms. And this is our positioning now is we want to be that cloud operating system for business. We want to do that core set of applications that your business crucially depends on. That's what I'm going to call the operating system, because the operating system is whatever you run on, in my definition. It's not whatever runs on your device. Today, whatever runs on your device is a device driver, increasingly. It's what your business runs on would be this operating system. And there will be, of course, many attempts at this, many flavors of this, right? This is what we are really positioning ourselves on. And we want to provide that experience, unified experience, that what traditionally an operating system represented. And this actually is also powered by the vision we call big data in the cloud, apps that are built for the specific context and usage. So we don't see, for example, our mobile CRM app as just a mobile version of the web app. That's not how I see it. We see that we could have, in fact, 4 or 5 CRM apps, one for the sales guy, one for the sales manager, one for the exec, and one for the traveling support person, all of them, built on the same foundation of big data in the back end. Similarly, you could have a mashup app that links together your finance, accounting information, your sales information for account or a finance people or execs for decision making. These are the kinds of things that we see this cloud operating system delivering. It's not just another operating system. This actually is a different way of computing, different way you think about apps. And we encapsulate that with our slogan, the big data, small apps. It's that small, the app looks small, but it's powered by that ocean of data that you're putting into Zoho. And that's how we see the world evolving. And we are focused on depth. If you look at our CRM, you look at our campaign, you look at our creator, our project management, our recruit, our invoice, we are really focused on the depth in each area. We don't want to give you, just because we give you all of these apps, we don't want you to compromise on that. And of course, the breadth across the suite. So those are big focal areas for that. And that's, why do we do this? Why are we attempting to do this? Fundamentally, all of these technology transitions also happen because there are underlying economic rationale for it. Economics ultimately wins, right? It's not just technology. So I'm going to actually talk about some of the economics we have reaped in this. If we pay, we just charge ourselves the full retail price that the customer, a typical customer would pay for our suite. Today it would be already 75% lower than what if we had gone with Microsoft and all of the other stuff. We use SharePoint, we use the Office suite, we use Exchange, all of this, we add it all up. It'll be 4 times what we are paying. And that's the, and still we are profitable, we are growing, we are doing really well. And if you look at the landscape, it's not, companies like us, 10% of gross margin. Typical American business is about 35% gross profit. 10% of that is actually spent on IT today. And keep in mind that the net profit margin itself is somewhere about 15% of gross profit in most business, 20%. So more than half of net profit actually goes to IT spend today. I believe this cloud era will get that down from 10% of gross profit to 5%. And this is what the real power of the cloud is. And we are seeing it in our business. As I said, if we switched to the equivalent competing alternatives today, we would spend 4 times the money. So where do the savings come from? Well, first and foremost, the economies of scale in the data center. It's just, much better resource utilization, right? We have a few thousand servers, but we are serving millions and millions of users. And we are actually really over-provisioned. We give, extremely high margin so that if there is any kind of traffic spike, we have enough capacity. So that's, and our data center costs as a percentage of our revenue actually keeps declining, which is really good trend to see. Because the economies of scale effect kicks in. So as more people come in and our percentage we spend on the data center actually comes down. And the huge savings also comes from the bundled systems management. The stuff we do, keeping the stuff up and running, securing it, making sure it's distributed geographically, your data is safe, there are 6 copies of it, all of that. That part is expensive if you were to buy it separately. And in fact, our other division, Manage Engine, actually has built its name on cutting the cost of systems management for enterprises. That's how we learned the cloud. We came from a systems management background, and we understood the cost there, and the cloud, we understood how much the cloud can save on it. And we apply the Manage Engine technology in Zoho, and that is all bundled in at your price. And of course, the third is the cost of system integration, that you are integrating all of, we integrate all of these products, which means that any other additional custom work you do is truly custom and specific to your business. Not some, how do I get CRM to talk to projects or CRM to talk to documents? All of that stuff we do for you. Already comes pre-integrated, pre-bundled at that same price. So this 10% of spend to 5% is big. It's going to have meaningful impact on the bottom line. And this is not just my assertion here. Actually, this trend has now been recognized. A lot of the consolidation you see in IT is driven by this. That customer spend is going to come down, and vendors are consolidating ahead of time to position themselves for it. That's what is happening here. And we are investing heavily to lead the way. In fact, today we have over 1,000 engineers in our cloud and mobile initiatives in the company. Really 1,000 engineers. And 2 new engineers we are adding every day, every single day, which is why all those apps keep coming. I mean, it's really coming from this. And we have from 2 years ago, we had maybe a couple of people in our mobile initiatives. Today, we have over 100 engineers on it. And in fact, we have maybe 25, 30, 40 some apps now across the company. And we are going to double it this year, maybe reach 100 apps. That's our goal. And as I said, these will be very context specific, and you will see a lot of them. Some examples, in fact, in this show, we are launching one really cool app. Raju will talk about it. And this is the largest R&D team in the industry focused exclusively on this business software in the cloud. If you look at the cloud vendors, definitely even if you look at companies like Google and Amazon, they come from consumer to this business segment. So they don't have a lot of exclusive focus on the business. We are one of the few exclusively business-focused companies and one of the largest R&D teams in the industry. And now I want to actually show you a cool thing the new thing that we have recently cooked up. It's part of all this R&D investment we are making. And this, I'll highlight a video, maybe briefly talk about it. Then there's one of the corner rooms there. There'll be actually a demo of the product. I don't want to take up your time here to show a demo of the product. So really, we are really excited about this. And it came from, as the company grew, as the locations grew, as the employee base grew, we started to find ourselves, how do we get people to collaborate more freely across the company? And that was becoming an issue for us. We have a very loose culture, very easygoing culture. Still, it became hard to exchange ideas. And we had these discussion forums, blogs, internal blogs, all of that. But those kind of became, we became limited by those tools. Particularly, discussion forums became a place where it became a little formal. Like I would make a post, but people are afraid to comment on it. Those kinds of things started to happen in our company as we grew. And we also have the org and product boundaries. How do I get the CRM team to talk to mail team? Even though they are sitting maybe just one floor away in a building, it still became, as the teams grew, as the company grows, all of these became problematic for us. And we came up with a solution. And same way, we have all these 100 apps in Zoho Creator that runs our business. Many of them are group specific. There are finance specific apps. There are HR specific apps, travel apps, all of that. How do people find those? How do we organize them into groups? All of those problems came up. Today, Zoho Pulse is actually it's a really interesting social network. It's the first one that brings both the social network experience, of course, we are all used to in private networks, with all of these creator apps, the workspaces, the documents, and eventually the CRM support tickets, all of this as feeds in the network. This is going to be a foundation. You'll see this getting into a lot of the Zoho products in the next few months. You'll see it. This is launching today, and it's already available. And it's launching with both the web and, of course, iOS app and Android app. And we are working on an iPad version too. Thank you.
Thanks, Sridhar. So we actually have a little bit of time for a question and answer session with Mr. Vembu. And so after kind of seeing the presentation and also, of course, the video, what kind of questions can we answer for you guys? Who's got one? Yes, ma'am, in front. Let me actually get you on the mic so we can record it.
from your own device, and if companies switch to Zoho, how we manage the data. Because if I walk in and work for Microsoft tomorrow using my iPad and Zoho, how are you, as my employer, going to wipe my iPad and leave the organisation?
That's a very interesting question. We have an MDM product in our management suite actually that's morphing into a Zoho MDM service. So mobile device management, all this remote management, bring your own device, which data belongs to you, which data belongs to the organization, which one should we do, all of the good stuff is coming as part of that suite. So probably launch great policy. It's a big problem, I do agree. And we have the same issue. We hand out iPhone to all our employees, but people also want something on switch to Android. They buy that one. That is actually a issue for us.
How do you expect Zoho Pulse to affect Zoho CRM, and what can CRM users expect to gain from Zoho Pulse?
Yeah, so there's two sources. One is, of course, the feeds engine itself, technically that you can follow leads or why the transaction is closed. But there's also the whole internal social aspect of it, where people are asking about specific strategies, do we have collateral for this, can marketing help this. Normally, I can tell you how we are working on. This has been running within the org for the past 8 months. So this is actually a product we have used heavily. We perfected it, only we are launching it now. We've seen, we used to have maybe 10% of employees who make any kind of post to the internal forum. Now it's up to about 50% just after launching it. Because this just makes people feel much more, much freer to participate. If I make a pulse post, there'll be like 18 comments on it. If I make a forum post, nobody will say it. It sort of feels like a formal meeting where no one wants to raise their hand and ask a question. While pulse feels like water cooler, where it's a chit chat. And that has actually really improved our internal communication a lot. In fact, the pulse launch itself, we had a lot of discussions inside how we should do it. This is really good, all this. Similarly, we have seen Zoho food ads, bananas and grass and all that. That campaign went through internally, like ran on pulse for several weeks. There's a lot of labs and cakes. Our retail marketing for the record hates it. I love it, so I love it, right? As always, yeah. We have rigorous discussions with same company. But Pulse has been a great tool for all of that, actually. It exposes all the different points of view. People have different alternatives they propose, and it's been a great tool for us. And I see this across the board, sales group, marketing group, development, all this we are using. The key is it's going to be integrated fully in Zoho suite. All the products from documents to CRM to support, all of them.
I actually have a quick question for the group, and then we'll get to your question, sir. So, how many people have been using Zoho for over a year? By show of hands. How many? Keep your hand up if it's been over 3 years. Do we have any 5 years Zohos? Couple of 5 years. That's wonderful. That's great to hear. Both the people that are new to Zoho and the people that have been with Zoho for a really long time. I think what you can tell is that, again, we're putting together products for you guys to grow your business, and I'm sure the people that have been using this for 5 years can seeing a testament to that.
I think we're seeing the transformation. Actually, 5 years ago, I'm really embarrassed to people how bad we were then. There's so many things we didn't know then. We have gotten much, much better, and we will continue to get better. We will continue to get better.
Sridhar, I just wanted to ask, the existing Pulse functionality, a lot of my clients really like the idea of being able to follow big deals, etc. Is that going to remain? Or is that
It will be upgraded into this version. We just call it Pulse within CRM, but that's just a taste of what was to come. It's going to be seriously upgraded. We're working on that right now. So it will remain, but it will get much better. I promise.
one Zoho product? Show of hands. More than 2? 3 or more? 4 or more? And 5 or more? 5 or more? Great.
We have 25 there, so we have work to do.
Do you have plans to have a new look and feel for the whole suite? I mean, the way it presents.
You can see the look and feel evolving in the last, for example, our office suite now we go CRM got a major, we go a couple of years ago, projects got a big, editor, creator got a completely new lines. In fact, right now it's going in from some trial mode right now, we just try it, but it's becoming live mode soon. So it is, the entire suite is getting made over. We have hired a large number of designers as part of our org now. We pay a lot more attention. Every screen that we see, there's maybe 10 versions of it that we test internally before we launch. Really 10, sometimes not. We go through lots of iterations of these. So we are putting a lot more focus on this.
And as a whole suite, to give the look and feel for a full collaboration suite, to something.
The operating system vision does indicate we are planning that whole suite seen as one cohesive integrated unit. That's what we are working on.
Any questions? Oh, sorry. Closer. Sorry.
Is there any plan to give more control over the dashboards as far as like colors for reports? A lot of executives are very picky or particular about how they want things to come, and it takes a while to explain to them that their positive profit margin is a red line instead of a green one. Things like that.
Actually, this is a big debate in the company. I used to come down on the side of give every control to the user how they want to ready this up. But some of our leading designers in the company don't want that much because they see that most people would just codify it, right? Unfortunately, that's the right word. So we kind of have to strike a balance between the two. Just randomly throwing colors is not really good. On the other hand, we want to give some freedom, and this is the tension, creative tension. This debate goes on in the company a lot. And different product managers come out differently on this question. Actually, honestly, is still an evolving area. But my own personal preference is to give a lot of control to users. So I fight for it.
As we trust you more with our data, can you talk a little bit about the data center, security, redundancy, all that kind of stuff? I don't know that I've ever heard that. And as you get more and more products, and we give you more and more data, we just want to be sure that it doesn't go poof someday.
It's a really valid question. In fact, about 20% of my own time goes to those issues, data center security. I work mostly in the organization. Most of my own personal time is spent with the product management engineering teams. 20% of the time is now going to security and operational considerations. We now have 2 data centers, completely our data is 3 copies here in Silicon Valley and 3 copies in New York, New Jersey. That's how it is. So there are 6 copies of the data kept. And we are, as you know, we already support the read-only backup, that read-only work. When there's an outage in the main data center, you get read-only access to your data. That will soon be upgraded to full read-write capability so that when the first data center completely goes down, you still have full access and you can do all the editing and everything you want on the data. And we have about 20 people in our security development team. It's a development team that's working on security filters. We have our own application level firewall that actually goes through every URL, every access, every gate, and we check it for whether there's a violation of patterns. All of that. We spend a lot of both R&D and time and money, all of that into this. And we realize how critical it is for people, not just gain confidence in Zoho, but the entire cloud. That this is the biggest issue facing. Having said all this, I would say that exclusive with the firewall that protects it. Those are not all the security. Who wants to really seriously want to get in, they can get in. Because security has become a really complicated subject. We have 20 developers full time on it, and it's still taking more and more. So I would say that we're probably safer in the cloud than in your own private corporate environment. But we still face the burden of living to a much higher standard, and we take the very seriously. I should. I won't take a lot of
Thank you for this keynote. You did a wonderful job right now on setting up the personal account, so now it's streamlined across all applications. Now that you have more and more applications and you are targeting that the company acquires more applications, what about this setup of the company within these applications, because it needs to be done, and also the management of the users for these applications? How are you going to address this?
Yeah, as part of the operating system vision, we are working on a unified administration tool that will, you can administer accounts across your organization, across all of the apps in a simple dashboard. That's something that we are working on right now that should launch into this year. That's what we want. So you will have one simple point from which all of your Zoho subscriptions, all of your, who has access to what, all of that can be managed from one place. That's something that we are working on.
Sorry, in front.
I'm pretty loud. Three quick questions. You're looking at two-step authentication?
Two-factor, yeah. Actually, Zoho card right now uses two-factor. It's already in Zoho.com. We are not exposed to the public yet. It is coming. It's something we are testing ourselves. We are living through it. We are identifying all the issues. Because right now, on the web, it works fine. On the mobile, we have some issues. So we are working through all that.
Second question, data security in regards to the internet and the safe harbor. What's going on there for data?
Our data centers are in the US, so we are subject to that. If there is a request from the government, there's a thing we have to cooperate. Fortunately, ours is a very business focused thing. People tend, it's definitely low on the hierarchy that the government doesn't care for what people do in the business context as much. So it's but yes, we are subject to it. If we all have data centers outside Europe, we can for other jurisdictions. But something that's planned, but like not this year, but next year.
And final question, do you consider Pulse being in the same category as Yammer or Shatter or cybersecurity?
It's that plus a lot of the other Zoho suite, the Creator particularly, the documents, all of that product, the document editing, Zoho Creator apps, all of that come into this Pulse context, which they don't have. That's what we need.
A lot of the focus of Zoholics is on the CRM, but I'm wondering how much you guys are effort or focus you're going to be putting into Zoho projects.
Oh, we actually have projects started by the teams here. It's just that we survey our users what they want to hear from us, what the training they want. CRM comes out of this, which is dominated by it. But you will see something like projects. It's not a lot of that tend to be smaller businesses. We don't really get to need the training on it, which is why we don't talk about a lot. But it is a fast-growing product, and we invested in it. You saw the new UI, we have some of the goodies. You saw the mobile app, all of that. So a lot of coming there. So yes, but in this show, a lot of what you're hearing is based on the surveys we conducted, what people want from us. One is why are we here, and that's what we are facing.
So we have, getting close to running out of time. I have one question for you guys, and I have a final question for Mr. Vembu. So the question for you guys is, how many of you guys have come from Salesforce to Zoho CRM? How about ACT? How about Microsoft Dynamics? And everybody else, right? Well, it's great to see that you guys have chosen Zoho, and we applaud you for making that choice, and hopefully tell us maybe in the next 5 years, where do you see Zoho, our products, our security, kind of what's the 5-year plan for us?
If you look at, that operating system vision is what is driving our investment, what we are doing right now. We think of the cloud operating system for business. And that we continue to evolve on that, and we see a lot more, as you mentioned, unified administration, unified dashboards, and the pulse weaving through all of this, all the products. And of course, as we increase our user base, a lot more investment in support, sales, all of those things, right? See, and hopefully also more people to help me in the management, because it's definitely there's a complexity of the operations is increasing, and it's all the growth things we see. And we are every metric now we're firing all cylinders now. It's really great.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Vembu. So, as a way of housekeeping, again,